Hello and welcome to the WellFit podcast. I'm joined here today by special guest Dee Cardenas. Dee, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate your time. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, and it's a pleasure to be on. I really appreciate you reaching out to me and having me join you today.
Absolutely. So, today, without ruining the story right away, we're going to kind of cover for you guys, one, how I know Dee, and the social media aspect of networking and communication and supporting through different groups like that. Also, girls who lift in the weight room, kind of the stereotypical way that a lot of females approach the gym, and how to kind of break that mold. And also just kind of learn a little bit more about Dee, because she's got a pretty cool story. And that's about it. So without further ado, Dee, could you please just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, and what got you into working out and fitness?
Yeah, so obviously my name is Dee Cardenas. I was born and raised in Southern California, although I've moved around for like military and soccer and things like that. What I do right now is I am a property manager, leasing agent for apartments, and then I also do personal training on the side as well as nutrition coaching. And yeah, that's about it.
Very cool. So this is a little story time here. I guess this is the beginning of 2015. So probably like just
about that time.
Yeah. Well, how old are you?
I am 27.
Okay, cool. So we're the same age. So I know I just graduated college in 2014, and I had finished playing. I actually stopped like my sophomore year playing competitively soccer, and I'd gotten into the gym. It's like probably serious weightlifting around like junior year of college. A buddy kind of dragged me into it, and once I started seeing some results, it was pretty cool, and yeah, it kind of replaced that competitive edge, if you will, of sports. I was still playing sports, but this was just something different. So when I got home after school, looking for a job and all that, and I was working out a lot, I kind of learned about personal training through the local gym I was going to, and bodybuilding competitions and stuff like that. So that was always an interest of mine. I was just kind of doing everything. I didn't really know what route I wanted to go. And so I was just learning how that people, post pictures online. And every time I used to see anyone do that, I would be like kind of judgmental. I was like, this is kind of weird. Like, why is this person with their shirt off posting on Facebook? Like, I thought it was really, really weird. I didn't get it because I didn't work out. I was like, what's going on? So I kind of started to understand the whole progress thing through lifting and all that stuff. And a lot of people around me, well, no one really at all was into bodybuilding, that's for sure. And I knew a few powerlifters and just other general fitness people. But when I started lifting, a lot of my friends and family were like, what are you doing? Like, you're a short guy. You don't want to get much bigger. Like, you should probably stop this. This is, probably bad for you to lift all these heavy weights and do this or that. But there's something kind of just addictive about it. I didn't know at the time what exactly it was. I think it's because it's so many things in one shot. It's like a psychological and physical, it's almost like a therapy, working out. You just feel better. So I was kind of caught up in that, but didn't have really I guess you could say, the support community that I was looking for in terms of pursuing more hardcore fitness goals. So I think I must have posted a picture somewhere of like jumping rope or something silly, and I got a message, which now it's changed a lot, but it was probably like I would probably ignore it if I got it now, because it would be just like spam, like, hey, sign up for this or that. But it was I don't even remember the group name, but it was some kind of group, and they're like, talk about, our fitness goals and this or that, and getting back on track and doing this progress. So I was like, what the heck? Like, everyone else is telling me to chill out with the working out. So this is a place maybe I could talk to people and learn about bodybuilding and learn about other things. So I posted a picture, and that's when I think you reached out through Facebook and said, because it was like, post a picture and share your story. And we had kind of a similar story with soccer and then being injured and then kind of falling back into liking working out and that kind of being the competitive outlet. That's how I remembered it, at least. Is that right?
Yeah, no, that sounds about right. Because I remember, same thing with athletics, we kind of connected because we both said how hard it was when we left that space and just trying to find another outlet,
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people can relate to that, because especially, high school is one thing. You're young and your metabolism's going and you just play and you do a lot of different things. And then especially when you get to a more competitive level and you take it to the next level, it's like, it's just such a big part of your life. And then when it's gone, it's just weird. You don't know what to do.
You have so much time for like things you don't even know what to do with it.
Yeah. Thank God. I don't think I had Netflix yet.
No, that was not a thing for sure.
Yeah, so that would have been a problem. But then you kind of, you get lazy or you just need an outlet. So that's kind of, and to be honest with you, when you reached out and shared your story and this or that, and I talked to, other people and like that, that's what I needed. It was like kind of a push to be like, this is okay. Like, this is a different avenue. It's not something that a lot of people I hang out with know about. But, it's something that if you like it, it is a healthy thing and you should pursue it. So, you kind of, in a way, you kind of got the ball rolling for me to continue, just in the fitness route. And, so many things have come from that over the past 5 years for me. And now it's something I just absolutely love. And I just think it's cool that, you never know. Some people, because there's negative things too, but when you just say one thing to somebody, you never know what kind of impact like that's going to have. You know what I mean? Like, you could have just seen, oh, he plays soccer too, he got injured, he works out, that's pretty cool, that's like me. But if you didn't say that, I would have probably just, if no one talked to me, I probably just left that group and just listened to everyone saying, hey, you should probably stop lifting so much, and that's it. I've just gone on with my life and done whatever. So I think that's really cool and just kind of a good message. It doesn't always click with people, but sometimes if you just give a little spark, it's pretty amazing what can come from that.
Yeah, and it's just crazy how social media just connects all of us through that. I think especially lately it gets really bad rep, but you can use it in such a positive manner, and I think that if you realize it's not your whole life and use it as a tool, it can be really beneficial.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's kind of why I wanted to share this story and to have you on, because you're the first person that ever kind of did that, and the first experience that I had that was, I'm lucky enough for it to be positive. I mean, someone could have commented and said, like, nah, dude, you suck, just give up, and I would have been like, all right, that's it for me. But
hey, there are some people out there, I don't know why, but there are people who would probably say that.
Yeah, it's sad, and I think it's just, it's definitely the not being in person side of it that gives people this, like, I can just say whatever I want and there's no consequences. It's kind of interesting. Right. Have you ever said anything negative to anybody? Or not like negative, but like even just like corrective, that you're like, oh, this is different, or no?
Negative. I guess when I get frustrated, I can probably say some pretty hurtful or negative things about people. But aside from that, no, I just keep to myself.
Yeah, have you ever like posted something like that though?
No.
No, yeah.
No.
Because you're like me, and you have a good moral compass there. You're not going to be like rip somebody apart. On the internet, but people do. People post. They just say whatever. And it's an interesting line for me, because sometimes now, when I see something that's maybe it's like someone's form, or like they've been
Mm-hmm.
trying to do something for a long time and they're just not there, it's very tempting to just be like, hey, you should do this, or you should try this. And I guess maybe if it was said in a appropriate manner that was respectful, they might hear it. But it's all, especially when you're reading something, who knows how you might take it? You know what I mean?
Right. No, I agree. Those whole form police and everything think that they're being helpful, but in reality are actually probably doing more harm than good.
Yeah. So it's a fine line, and it's why do you think it's changed so much? Like, because when I first started posting pictures and watching YouTube videos, there really wasn't that much negative stuff, or maybe it just wasn't blown up as much. Or and is that just me, or do you feel like it's switched kind of more to a mean bullying side type thing?
I think it has shifted a little bit. I don't think there was such a focus on this whole influencer mentality when social media first started. So I think people were probably being a little more real, and they weren't really paying attention to it as much. So there wasn't as much pressure. And I think now that there's been a lot more pressure, people feel like they need to act a certain way or look a certain way, and I don't know. They think they can say whatever they want, and the words won't hurt anyone. And I think it gets the best of some people.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I think you put it great. It's a tool, and I mean, you can either use the tool to build something nice or to destroy something or hurt somebody. So
Right.
it just seems like very magnified. So I wanted to talk to you today also about being kind of just a regular female, because you lift. Like, I've seen you lift.
I
Like,
do.
you're
Yes.
strong and you look good. So could you tell us the secret to doing that? And also, give us a little backstory. What got you into like lifting heavy weights and just not doing the typical maybe treadmill, one or two machines, crunches, and go home?
Yeah. So first off, what got me into it is, as I said, I played sports my whole life. I was a soccer player. Um, and then when I got to college, I got injured, so I couldn't play sports, and I decided I wanted to travel. So that's when I started traveling, living my best life, probably eating and drinking a lot more than I should have been, because I'd always been an athlete. So these things never really affected me. Eventually I came back home and I realized, wow, I have gained quite a bit of weight. And I just wasn't feeling good about myself, Before I was this athlete and always athletic and, looked good and stuff. And now I just feel like I looked fat. So I decided I want to do something different. And after playing soccer forever, I didn't want to do the whole cardio thing anymore. So I just started researching and realized, okay, let's try weightlifting. I started going, but I had no idea. I remember I would have my phone in one hand, looking at the bodybuilding.com app and trying to figure out, okay, how do you do this exercise? What does it look like? Just feeling so entirely awkward. And then, as you mentioned, this was about 10 years ago, maybe. I was like the only female in the weight room. Like, it's even more rare in the past than it is now to see a female lifting. So that was pretty intimidating, but I just kept going. I kept trying. I kept asking questions. And eventually I just learned from other people, watching them, reading up online, asking people for advice. And it got to a point where I fell in love with it. Instead of dreading, oh, I have to go to the gym today, I need to lose weight, I started I want to get stronger and I want to get better. And it was just this huge mentality shift where it was no longer about trying to fit this skinny norm that society kept portraying. But I just wanted to be strong, and being strong was what's going to make me powerful.
That's awesome. So I kind of have two questions about that story. First is, well, I think a lot of people, I'm not going to limit this to females, because I mean, I know this happened to me too. Like, when you walk into the gym, and I've kind of wanted to make a video on this too, like, the scary section is where the dumbbells are and all the people are. And,
exactly.
And the second scariest section is the squat rack, because you don't know what that thing even is. And, like, some of them look different. You're like, why does this one connect? Why is this bar here? And, like, how much does that bar weigh? I can't do that bar. I don't even know what I'm going to do with that bar. So It's kind of a weird thing. So, I guess everyone's different. It's probably a personality thing. But how did you, or I guess you were guided in the weight room originally, but what would you say to somebody who's either nervous or who's maybe a young female who maybe wants to start that stuff but is scared to go by the dumbbell section?
I would say two things. So either maybe reach out to a friend or someone you know who maybe is a little bit more familiar with lifting in the weight room, and then have them show you around. You won't feel like the pressure's all on you to look a certain way or do it correctly because you have someone literally there teaching you. So that's always very helpful and beneficial, and sometimes that's exactly what people need. And then the other option is just, take a deep breath and turn your brain off for 15 seconds and go into the weight room, and by the time you're holding dumbbells, it's too late. You just keep doing it. And I think I kind of did more of the second option initially until I was confident enough to start asking people for help, because it was tough, being so athletic and having to ask people, how do I lift a weight?
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a total switch, like that you can, you're a strong person, you can move around and stuff, but now it's like you're out of your element. That's how I kind of felt too. It's like, I'm a high-level athlete, but, I don't know what this machine does. I don't really
yeah,
look like
and then I was like, lift weights for what? To look good? I mean, my whole life was just performance. How can I perform in a game and practice? And it was just a little silly to me at first, and I was like, I'm going to lift so I can kind of look better. You know what I mean?
I 100% know what you mean, because I was the same way. I was like, what? Shape my shoulders? Like, I don't care about my shoulders. Like, it was just weird.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I know for me, it was more like once I saw a result, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, because it's such a direct thing. I mean, obviously it doesn't happen overnight, but it's so like, if I do this and I eat like this and I sleep and I drink, I'll get this change. So it's so like, it's such a direct thing, and and it does translate into life a little bit. You can kind of take that mentality of, if I do X, Y, Z, I'll get to there. So it's kind of like a work ethic mentality, but nothing is more straightforward than just physically just going, mentally prepping yourself and doing it, and then getting a result. It's really
So if that's the case, why do you think so many people have a hard time sticking with their goal when they first start lifting and stuff?
Ooh, good question. I would say sticking with their goal, like how they kind of fall off, like, yeah, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it comes down to two things. The first thing is, and it's kind of like what you said about approaching the weight room. One is kind of, what do I do? Like, what should I physically be doing? I don't have a plan. I don't have an approach. And then two is mental. It's all in the mindset. It's like, well, this is hard. This is different. And it's time consuming, and I have to change my ways to do it. So I think those are two. I mean, you take just one of those things is hard enough, and then you have to conquer both of those things. So, it sounds like I'm trying to like sell something, but I took advantage of my free session with the trainer. I did that, even when I knew what I was doing, and I was one of the best looking people and strongest people in the gym. Like, I still trained with the trainer, so I don't understand why people don't just swallow their pride and just do that sometimes, because that can make all the difference in getting on the right track to start, especially if you have no idea what you're doing. Because it's not like in most places there's no weightlifting class. Like, if you played sports, you're guided by hopefully somebody who knows what they're doing, but even so, they're not experts. They might know a few lifts and they set you up. So I think that's part one, the programming of it, and then part two is just all the mental side of it. But that's why it's so important to lay it out, what your goals are, as specific as possible, and attack the plan from there. Because not everyone likes it. Not everyone has that switch like you and I do, where it's like, this is great. This has replaced something, that competitive edge, or this has become something that I enjoy, I like to do. Some people see it as a chore. Some people have to do it for their health. So it's a lot of different things. So you gotta get specific with your goal, and then your game plan. Hopefully that answers the question enough. But
no, that was great. I just want to see what your perspective was on everything.
Yeah, it's always a lot of it just is a mental thing. But like I said, if you don't have a good plan, then you're even more likely to fall off of it mentally. That's why it's so important to have a good plan in place, because it's always hard. I love it, and there's still days, especially if I'm in a diet or something like that. There's days I don't want to do it, honestly, and it's something I love. So most of the time I love it, but some days I'm like, oh man, I really don't want to train my back. I really don't want to do this exercise right now, and but you get over it. And it's a mental thing. You think about the bigger picture. And I would say almost 100% of the time, after you do it, you're like, boy, I'm glad I did it.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. There are some days I get home from work and I'm like, no, I don't want to do it today. I don't want to. And somehow I just push myself, get dressed, drive there, go inside. And sometimes those are my best lifts. Like, I have the best lifts sometimes.
Interesting how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's it's just like anything that you truly commit to or believe in. You have to look sometimes beyond what you feel in that moment.
Exactly.
Because you're not, your circumstance. You know what I mean? You're striving for something that's bigger than that. So you have to keep that in mind. But I think a lot of people don't want to think that deep. I think that's what it is. A lot of people just make jokes about it and laugh it off, like, yeah, this is that, and I'm fat, and haha, and they leave. But they could do it.
Well, people want the instant gratification. I think that's a huge part of it. I mean, think of the world we live in now. Social media, having everything at your fingertips, so they're used to things happening immediately. So when it comes to the weight room, you can't cheat that. When it comes to dieting, you can't cheat that. But people want, okay, what's the pill? What's the secret?
Yeah.
Tell me so I can do it fast. I want it now. I want it now. Rather than thinking, okay, let me change my lifestyle a little bit, learn how to eat better, learn how to move better. And I think just thinking longer term will help people be a lot more successful.
Absolutely. I've always had the most success with the clients who say, not even the ones who are like, I'm willing to do whatever, because they're usually, they don't actually mean that. It's more just like they're pumped up at the moment, but it's the ones who are like, whatever it takes. Like, they're patient. Those are the ones that get results. And it's just like, it's one less thing that I have to train them on. I'm like, okay, thank God, because look, I'm not going to do you wrong. I'm going to train with you. I'm going to help you, whatever you need, till we get the results. So as long as you're in for it and you understand it's going to take, X amount of time, and these are the milestones we need to hit, we're going to get there. So it's like, it is, I don't want to say it's a sure thing, but it kind of is, as long as you understand that it's a process, and you're gonna feel great along the way. So yeah, that's interesting with the gratification. I think that's another reason why people don't stick to their goals, what you mentioned there, because it doesn't happen right away. And that's,
I mean, it's literally, they're starting to come up with research that that's a huge change that's been happening.
Yeah, so that's good stuff. Now, here's something also I want to talk to you about. What are some of your best lifts, so people have an idea how strong you are? I mean, obviously it's all relative, and we're not judging you on your numbers, but just so we can put it in perspective here, what are some of your best lifts, or that you're most proud of?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really max out too much anymore, just because I've been trying to focus on the bodybuilding aspect of it. But when I was going to my maxes, deadlift about 315, squat about 235, and bench about 145.
Wow, and how tall? I mean, you don't have to say how much you weigh, but how tall are you?
I'm about 5'3", 125 to 130 pounds.
Dang. Everything I'm impressed with, but especially the bench press. Because that's
Yeah.
that's
And it's
awesome.
funny because I was actually like the one that when I first started lifting, I didn't even hit chest until about a year and a half after lifting. And bench, I was like, oh no, I'm not good at this.
What did you start? What did you start benching when you first started?
What did I start benching?
Yeah, like
The bar with someone spotting me. I could barely lift the bar. Yeah, it was bad.
that's so cool. So what kind of program did you follow to uh, get your strength up? I know you said you did a lot of research online. Maybe it was a little different before, but now there is, especially someone who can weed it out. If you're someone who can't weed it out, like, because there's a lot of crap and there's a lot of this or
Right.
that, and you got, especially when you have two strong people who both look good, and one says do this and one says do the total opposite. It's hard to follow. But what did you come across that eventually worked for you?
Um, well, as far as lifting goes, like I said, once I kind of found people who knew what they were doing, I just had them kind of take me under their wing and teach me. And then eventually, when I started getting more into the gym, I wanted to take it more serious, and I actually had a powerlifting coach when I first started powerlifting, just so I could make sure I learned correct form, correct programming. And so he coached me for about a year and a half. And then after that, I kind of coached myself. And then I also followed, it's called MAPS from Mind Pump. So it was one of their programs as well. Followed that to kind of help with my aesthetics and my strength. Um, and now I program my own. As I said earlier, I'm a coach and just experience from training people, and also just the 5 years I've had with lifting. I do my own programs depending on if I'm trying to cut, if I want to get stronger. I can kind of manipulate it to whatever I'd want.
That's awesome. Now you said when you first got into lifting, when you first got back, you're like, I need to do something because you weren't happy with kind of how you felt and how you looked. How did you? I guess the big fear for a lot of women is if I lift heavy, I'm going to be bulky, and I'm not going to look the way I want to look. So, what is your message or your answer to how you did it? And just give a little insight on that.
Well, that was definitely me because when I first started lifting, I never went anywhere besides 12 to 15 reps for every exercise. So I totally understand when um, girls say that. Well, I'd have to say the shift for me was when I became a little bit more competitive with my lifting. Every now and then I'd go lift with some of the guys at the gym, and they would always be like, "Oh, like who can get heavier?" and things like that. And then I started getting really excited, and I got pumped and trying to lift heavy and trying to push it. And I just stopped focusing on what I was going to look like as I was lifting, and I just focused on like, oh, I just want to be stronger. And then eventually I looked in the mirror and I looked exactly how I wanted to look when I was doing the 12 to 15 reps. So I think females getting scared that they're going to get too bulky. It just doesn't happen. We don't have enough testosterone in our body to create that look unless you're taking exogenous hormones. Just eat well and lift weights, and you're going to get that exact tone-looking body that you want.
That's so cool. Yeah, I always find. I mean, there's more and more people that I see, especially females who are like lifting heavy and looking good, and it's like
Yeah.
it's kind of like, oh, you can do this. You don't have to do just the tradition. Not that the other way doesn't necessarily like it works the other way too. Like people can do cardio and tone the other way, but I mean the health benefits and just the overall package that you'll get from getting stronger is just it's just amazing, and you can look good too. So it's like, why wouldn't you want the best of both worlds?
Right. And then think about it also is you can kind of shift your focus from a strength to maybe a higher rep focus to manipulate your body in a certain way. But I think you just can't get stuck in one modality. And that's where people end up messing up is they get stuck in this one modality about how they're going to do things, how they're going to lift, what exercises they do, and they just never do anything different. And then they stop seeing changes, and then they give up. So you constantly just have to keep learning, keep switching up your style. And then, as Ben mentioned earlier, if you have the means, invest in a good coach, because that's one thing that I definitely agree with is if you have a great coach, they're going to teach you long-term success, and it'll be the best investment. Forget the protein powders, forget the pre-workouts, get a coach.
Yeah, that's good advice. Why do you think, I mean, were you hesitant to, like when you first got involved with the powerlifting coach, were you hesitant to do that? Like I'm strong, I lift, do I really need a coach? Or because I think a lot of people, even like especially athletes or people who look good or people who just can't wrap their head around justifying the money, even though it's really not that much when you look at the value compared to what you what you want and what you spend on other stuff. So what did you ever kind of debate like, oh, do I really need a coach, and what kind of set you over the edge to seek out professional help?
Yeah, definitely. So I've always been pretty good at realizing when I'm not good at things. So I don't think I was ever felt like, oh, I'm strong, I don't need a coach. I knew that I was still fairly new at lifting, and I knew that someone who had more knowledge can teach me a lot. So that's not what held me back. But what really held me back is I wanted to make sure that the coach I got was a legitimate coach. Yeah. And I don't mean that to put anyone else down, but there are coaches who, same program they give to all their clients, same diet plan gives to all their clients. They train everyone the exact same way that they don't really even know the master of their craft. So I wanted to make sure that whomever I had as a coach can talk to me about not only lifting and programming, but understanding the stressors in my life that can make me weaker. I was focused on getting stronger. I had to take into account sleep as well, and diet and stress and all these other things. And I wanted a coach who can help me from A to Z with everything. So that was the most important, was trying to find someone who had knowledge and would, give me the time of day to individualize my own plan. Well, I was kind of looking for a powerlifting coach for a while, but it wasn't until I went to a gym out in San Diego just to check it out. I kind of saw him coaching someone else. I saw his coaching style, and it was just right timing, honestly, right timing, right place. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. And it was a great decision. I learned a lot from him.
That's so awesome. Yeah, I mean, that's so important. Something you run into far too much these days is, I was just talking to, when we had Dr. Chris on here last week. He was a therapist, and we were talking about how some people have bad physical therapy experiences, and then they go somewhere else, and they're like, oh my God, this is the best therapy. And we kind of just talked how that translated into training too, how, just because someone has their, whatever training certificate doesn't mean they're actually, going to be the best trainer for you. And it almost ends up becoming, so when you talk about stressors and stuff in life, that's a great thing. That's a good heads up, because some people don't even ask about that. They're just like, what's your goal? And just go from there. So, when the person asks questions that care and talk about your lifestyle, that you're likely gonna start to be in the right direction, or at least they're genuine about their care for you, and then you can see if the programming is working from there. I know the best feeling for me, and it's not even something that I seek out, but when someone would come up to me and ask me to train them or for advice because they saw me doing it with somebody else, that was like, that's like the ultimate, like, awesome thing for me. It's like the ultimate not just like, I guess it's like a bit of an ego booster, but it's so genuine. You know what I mean? Like, they see that I care about someone, they see the results that we're getting, and it's like, to see that and experience it, they're like, I want that, and they recognize that through seeing it. And it sounds like you kind of had a similar experience. I'm sure he was competent. And I mean, what a lucky guy to have a client that, like yourself, it's a dream come true for the coach too, Because, like, oh, here's someone who seeks out good knowledge, who wants to learn. It's like, this is going to be great. We're going to get them so strong, and you just take pride in that, too. And then you learn from it, and now, you know, you coach other people. You're strong. You play around. Because it's always, there is going to be repetition in the exercises and programming, you know, because there are some things that everyone should be doing. And, you know, that's just the way it is. But it's great that you can take bits and pieces and kind of form your own. And I think that's what it's all about for everyone to be successful.
And that coach was Brendan Tietz, by the way, in case anyone is wondering.
Yeah. What was his name? Brandon?
Brendan
Brendan.
Tietz.
Brendan. All right. Yeah, I just want to get as strong as D here. I'll hire you because you got all the skills now. So there you go. So just tell us real quick about your. So you coach some clients now?
Yeah, occasionally. When I have a little bit of extra time, I'll take a client here or there. I actually just finished up a home gym, so hoping to eventually use that as like a little training facility.
Oh, that's awesome. That's the dream. Home gyms are very nice.
Yeah. No, we just got it, so I'm excited. It's all starting to come together.
Very cool. If anybody do you do online coaching or is it all in person?
Normally in person, but I'd explore the online option a little bit more.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's great. That's all really good stuff, and hopefully everyone can take something away from that, especially you ladies out there. The takeaway point is, what would you say? What would you say that the takeaways are for girls who want to start lifting?
Takeaway points are, don't care what anyone else thinks. If you're feeling nervous about it, take a deep breath and just do it. And then also, don't get stuck in this whole I need to lose weight stage. Focus on getting stronger, and then once you start cutting and you try losing weight, it's going to be so much easier when you have that extra bit of muscle.
Awesome. Do you work in anybody, if they're interested in reaching you or just following you, find you or contact you?
Yeah, well, you can find me on Instagram at SummerBodyFit, and that's body with an E, not a Y. And that's really the only platform I use right about now. I still have Facebook, but I haven't been on it in a while.
Sure, awesome. I'm not going to lie. When I first got in contact with you on Instagram, I was like, is this Summer Bode Fit? Like, I was just like, Summer Bode Fit? What is Summer Bode Fit? But, very
you know
cool.
how it is when all the Instagram handles are taken. You just you have to wing it.
You gotta get creative. I should talk. My friggin' Instagram handle is like, everyone's like, what's your Instagram? I'm like, all right, here we go. It's BE_Supreme_Benny_C. It's like, really? So.
And then let me tell you, I thought about changing it like a few times, but then everyone would always be like, oh no, somebody like leave it. That's just who you are now. So it's like, all right, we're keeping it.
Yeah, well, it's funny. I mean, because we talked about the like the internet and all that, and it's like. You don't even know some of these people's names. You just know their handle, and you're just like,
right,
yeah, that's so-and-so.
exactly.
It's like, wait, what? Her name is this? Or his name is that? And I'm like, oh, interesting. But that's great. All right, so cool. Yeah, go follow Dee. She's awesome, cool person, and sends out positive vibes out there. So, again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it because I thought, who better to have on here than the first person to kind of give me a good encouragement and a good boost. Into my
I appreciate you having me on here. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. All right, thanks for your time, and till next time, thanks for tuning in.